Welcome everyone to my rural development series. I've been talking about the definition of rural development. We talked about the goals of rural development in our last class. We also talked about rural development. We also talked about rural development processes, and we highlighted three of them in our last session. Today, we'll be talking about something different. Today, we'll be talking about objectives of rural development and the principles of rural development. Now, the expectation, as usual, before we start, we try to highlight them. The expectation is that at the end of this particular session, everyone should be able to discuss the objective. First of all, highlight them, the objectives of rural development, and then discuss them. Identify facilitating factors, those factors that facilitate rural development. Everybody should be able to identify them, as well as discuss the indices. You can as well call them indicators of rural development. Identify them, explain the meaning of the concept principle, as well as identify principles of rural development. We'll be doing this today. Now, in every human effort, we'll realize that there is an intention behind it, and that intention most times can be classified as the objective, or the goal for which this human endeavor has been engaged in, or as the person has decided to go about such activity. Every human effort is directed at achieving some objective. So rural development objectives are put in place so as to bring about solving needs of people in the rural environment through rural development projects. Okay, so objectives of rural development is one, promotion of social, cultural, and economic well-being of the rural dwellers or rural population. Also, number two, promotion of sustained and orderly development of the vast resources in the rural area for the benefit of the rural dwellers. Okay. Number three, increase in and diversification of job opportunities and improvement of income in the rural environment. Then number four, mobilization of the rural population for self-help and self-sustaining programs of development. Number five, upliftment of technological-based industries in the rural environment. So these are the objectives of rural development. Now, what are the facilitating factors? Those factors that facilitate rural development or achieving rural development. One, for rural development to be successful or come to fruition, one, the farmers and small rural entrepreneurs should be regarded as the centerpiece of rural development strategy. You must consider the farmers. You must consider the rural dwellers. You can't be considering urban dwellers or people from elsewhere while putting strategies in place for rural development. That would be an error. Number two, the government should play a minimum role, be a catalyst, and facilitate rather than playing direct production role in rural development. Number three, to ensure continuity and acceptance, and that externally induced projects are short-lived, rural residents should be involved in the identification and formulation and implementation, as well as evaluation of rural development projects. The next is rural development strategy should emphasize institutional coordination, all right, interministerial and interdepartmental linkages. Consensus are also important to ensure institutional integration at all levels, local, state, and national. The next is that development services and amenities should be functionally integrated across different levels of human settlement in the rural areas. These are some facilitating factors that help in the achieving of rural development objectives. Now, let's highlight rural development indices. The first is, we said indices can be also explained out to be indicators of rural development. So these are indicators of rural development. If rural development has occurred, these are the things you will see. So when we say rural development indices, don't think it's something strange. So these are some indicators of rural development. Number one, increase in per capita of the people. When we say increase in per capita, first and foremost, what is the per capita of a place? Per capita of a place simply means taking the total earnings of a particular locality and divide it by the population of the people there. Now, whatever you get, any amount you get is the per capita income of the people living in that locality. So, if rural development has been introduced into a particular locality, the per capita income of such a place should increase. That is what we look at. That's one indication of rural development. Number two, more even distribution of income. Now, when we say increase in per capita income, as our number one indicator says, that increase can be as a result of one person becoming very rich, or a more distributed increase of income across the population. All right. So that is one indication. Another indication of rural development is reduction in level of unemployment. Another indicator of rural development is diversification of the economy. You know, the rural areas are basically agrarian. So if we can establish an active participation in technology, education, science and tech, banking, tourism in the rural area, then that economy has been diversified. Number four, yeah, that's number four. Number five is increase in supply of high level manpower, that is those that are educated. This is an indication of rural development. The next is balanced development. And then we have indigenization of economic activities. That is all the things that are bringing about development in the area should be from an indigenous perspective. Then good health and standard nutrition is another indicator or indices of rural development. Then we have acquisition of technology. Now, let's talk about the principles of rural development. According to some scholars, a principle is a basic truth or general law determining the existence and regulating the conduct of an organization and distinguishing it from other systems. Principles of rural development are therefore foundational or fundamental and general rules laid down by rural development experts to guide the conduct of rural development program in such a way that stated objectives can be effectively achieved. What are the principles of rural development, therefore? One principle of rural development is accessibility. Two, independence. Three, sustainability. Four, effectiveness. Five, participation. These five principles are the principles of rural development. Let's take them one by one and talk about them briefly. When we say accessibility, what do we mean? Now, a meaningful rural development program must ensure that the program is accessible to all rural dwellers, especially the poor peasant farmers. All the people within the target population should benefit from the program without anyone benefiting more than the other. Okay, that's what we mean by accessibility. Then, what do we mean by independence? This means that any rural development program should be such that helps and supports the rural dwellers, but does not make them make their total livelihood dependent on the program. Such that when the rural developer should stop or withdraw, discontinue the program, the dwellers or the beneficiaries can still continue carrying out their own functions in the same light without being tied to the developer or to the program. That's what independence means. Now, another principle is sustainability. This means that the program, plan, and solution are relevant. So, first and foremost, every rural development plan should be relevant to the social life of the locals, economic life of the locals, and administrative conditions of the targeted rural population. So once it is relevant, then it will contribute to their well-being. And the program should not be terminated before the stated objectives are achieved. So to achieve sustainability, there should be a continuous implementation of that program so that it will achieve its objective along the way. So the program should be sustained until the problem of the area has been addressed. Now, When we say effectiveness, a good rural development program is effective is said or seen to be effective. A good rural development program should be based on effective use of local resources. So that's what we mean by effectiveness. For example, it may be unrealistic to encourage to maximize the use of chemical fertilizers, which may be beyond the reach of farmers. And farmers could be trained and encouraged to use local manures on their farm. In this case, the rural development initiative will be effective because now the people can use local resources, which is just local manure, which they can get from their local environment. Now, when we say participation as a principle of rural development, it means that participation of beneficiaries as the rural dwellers in the program is very important. The rural dwellers should be involved at various stages of the program, from the conception stage to the implementation stage. Although there seems to be sometimes disagreement on among developers and rural development experts on what level of participation rural population should possibly have in these implementation stages or different stages. However, nobody is in doubt about their participation. So the rural dwellers must participate in rural development, and that is a principle. Okay, so far we've discussed the objective of rural development and the facilitating factors that help in achieving rural development objectives. We have also discussed the indices of rural development, and we also discussed the principles of rural development. All right, thank you for your time. I'll look forward to seeing you in my subsequent class.